Hi and welcome to the channel. Today we will build another SFF PC with Hyte Revolt 3. I bought this for 6,200 pesos or around $110, which is pretty decent. I consider this as a NR200p competitor. It's like the NR200p rotated by 90 degrees to the left, removed the top fans, and added some space below for cables. So that's the Hyte Revolt 3. Marketing-wise from their website, I think they need to update the performance for this. They stated that you can put even the largest GPU in their place. No riser required. And then when you scroll down even further, you'd see a GPU that is already out of the compatibility list. And these are 30 series, mind you. I dare them to update the list with 40 series GPUs and straight-face tell me that we can still put even the largest GPUs. Anyway, as for physical looks, it looks like a building in my opinion. My wife told me that it looks like the Chinese delivery box in Korea. Moving on, around the case it has two USB-A ports, power switch, USB-C, and combo audio jack. At the sides, it has hooks for headphones. Underneath, you'd see some cables and also the cutout for the motherboard and GPU. You'd also see the power extension cable, and surprisingly, it has a switch, which I appreciate. To remove the side panels, you just need to pull it as it utilizes a push-pin mechanism. There are also magnetic dust filters beneath the side panels. You can see the front of the case, which is where the USB ports are. The GPU will face this way, and on the left side of the case, you'd see the radiator mount. Underneath the radiator mount is the accessory box. As for the accessories, it has a splitter for the combo audio jack for the mic and earphones. Very thoughtful in my opinion. It has two extra PCIe covers. One is already pre-installed as at the time of their release, it is common to have a 2-slot baffle for a 3-slot GPU. Nowadays though, you may need to remove the third PCIe cover. Next are screws and zip ties. Anyway, moving on with the build. To install the PSU, remove the cover, slide in the PSU, use the PSU screw and screw it from the top while holding the PSU. Given that the other side of the PSU is also hollow, feel free to orient in either direction facing the motherboard or facing the side panels. Plug the extension cable and turn on the PSU. Remove the GPU cover, set aside the case for now, and pre-assemble the motherboard. As for the motherboard, I'll be using the usual B550i Aorus Pro AX. The pre-installed processor is the Ryzen 7 5800X. RAM is a Kingston Fury non-RGB 32GB, 3200MHz CL16 RAM. At this point, I also plugged in the 8-pin CPU power connector as it is always hard to reach. I also put in the original backplate with original mounting clips removed. As I'll be using the DeepCool LT520 AIO, I've put in the mounting screws first before installing the motherboard to the case. Plug the CPU power connector to the PSU, plug the 24-pin power cable to the motherboard. At this point, Hyte suggested to plug all the cables. I also noticed that they bundled the front panel switches, which is really nice. And the USB-C is actually just an extension, which works well for this motherboard. So I just plugged that at the back of the motherboard. Plug the front panel audio, plug the front panel switches, plug the front panel USB 3, and now it's also a good time to do some minimal cable management. Since this is a temporary build, I just used a few cable ties, but ideally use as many as you can as guided by the manual. Now it's time to tackle the cooler. Screw in mounting brackets for AM4 to the cooler, put in thermal paste to the CPU, screw the cooler to the motherboard, plug the pump to the CPU fan header, plug the ARGB to the ARGB header, put in the infinity mirror thing, plug the fan to the fan header, mount the radiator to the radiator mount. At this point, you'd notice that the tubes are bulging out. I'll fix that later. Now it's time to tackle the GPU. But before that, I have to remove the top panel. The top panel is secured by 4 screws instead of push pins for some unknown design reasons. Anyway, the GPU is the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3070. This is actually beyond specifications by a few millimeters, so I'll be gentle on this. I tried to install it from the top, but it doesn't fit. With small perseverance, you can actually install it from the side instead. You need that small opening just for allowance. And somehow, the Strix fits. I'm actually surprised how easy it was considering that this is out of spec. But maybe the size is just right since the width of the Strix is inconsistent. It has a tall center but a smaller side overall, which made it fit to the opening. Screw the baffle to the case, plug the PCIe power connector to the GPU. I used a bit of force to tuck the excess cables beside the radiator. I was also trying to install the GPU cover but didn't bother as I felt uncomfortable giving strain to the power connectors. I also didn't install the PSU cable cover as it won't fit already due to the thick backplate from the GPU. At this point, I tested the fans if it will hit the cables and it did. I lost footage at this point but I rotated the tubes of the AIO downwards. Anyway, I screwed the radiator back. I also ensured that the tubes will not hit the fans by putting it in between the two fans. As for the fan cables, it was still hitting the fan. For that, I just pulled the cable outside, which is at the bottom of the case. And with that, it's time to close the side panels. It was an easy turn on and no issues during post. As for the temps while benchmarking Cinebench R23 for 30 minutes, the CPU temps hovered at 90 degrees Celsius. As compared with NR200p, Hyte is 4 degrees Celsius hotter. As for the CPU temps while benchmarking FF15 for 30 minutes, it averaged at 66.28 degrees Celsius with a max temp of 77 27.9 degrees Celsius. As compared with the rest of the cases, it is pretty much the same as NR200P. And of course, it is tough to beat the Mushroom S with similar configuration. As for the GPU temps, it averaged at 68.53 degrees Celsius with a max temp of 70.5 degrees Celsius. As compared with other cases, it is actually on par with Mushroom S of similar configuration. And the Hyte is also cooler by 2 degrees Celsius against the NR200P. As for the GPU hotspot temps, it averaged at 79.98 degrees Celsius with a max temp of 82.6 degrees Celsius. As for the fan speed, it was normal at 72.86% with a max of 74%. Overall, temps are pretty decent in my opinion. So overall, on its own, I can't actually say anything bad about it. It has decent temps, especially with the GPU, decent compatibility, while the access to the rear I/O is pretty much non-existent. It is still a better solution compared to the Mushroom S. At least I don't need to buy extra feet for this or look for 90-degree cables. However, if you compared it with NR200P, NR200P is just overall better in terms of compatibility and included accessories. And it is cheaper at that. The advantage of Hyte Revolt 3 is its smaller desk footprint and overall better GPU temps. However, it sacrificed a lot of GPU compatibility. Some 40 series cards are 140mm wide already, and with 12VH power, it will be an issue unlike the old 8-pin power connector. Though don't get me wrong, it's not bad to choose this case. It's just that at this price point and size, for me, the NR200P is more compelling. Anyway, that's it for this video. Do let me know in the comments below on what you think. Thanks for watching. Do like or dislike and subscribe for more unboxing, SFF builds, and benchmarks. Bye!